listening to a Zodiac Psychics podcast. This is Pop Culture Life Lessons, where we talk to the experts on our platform about celebrities, their problems, and what you can learn from it all. Welcome to the show. I'm Jess from Zodiac Psychics. Today we're welcoming back advisor Francesca. Francesca is a Clarisentient tarot reader and Reiki healer. You can connect with her on the Zodiac Psychics platform. Thanks again for joining us, Francesca.
Hey there, Jess. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here. So I am a psychic advisor, and I've been with Zodiac Psychics since 2019, and a former behavior therapist. That's why I infuse a lot of behavior protocols into my psychic readings in order for my clients to transform their relationship with themselves and with others.
And that's why we invited Francesca here, because I felt like this was a good topic for your expertise. Today we're going to talk about emotions, specifically emotional control. This was a topic inspired by the slap heard around the world. Oscar night 2022, actor Will Smith gets up on stage and slaps comedian Chris Rock. So this happened after Rock made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's shaved head, which is something she did due to alopecia. At first, Smith laughed, then he got on stage, slapped Rock across the face, goes back to his seat, yelled some profanities, and the show went on with Smith winning Best Actor that night. Since then, Will Smith has resigned from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences and has been banned from their events for 10 years. He has apologized, but a lot of damage has been done. At the end of the show, advisor Francesca is going to do a tarot reading about Will Smith, a little bit of a career forecast. But for now, we're going to talk about what we can learn from this. First of all, violence is never the answer. We know that. Second, someone or something will inevitably push your buttons. No matter who you are, what you're like, we all have buttons. They get pushed. It's all about the response. So Francesca, as I said, does a lot of energy work. So I wanted to start off by sort of asking you, on a psychic spiritual level, what does it mean about someone who struggles to control big emotions?
Yeah, sure. That's a good question. So typically, if someone struggles to control big emotions, it means that they have repressed energy to transmute their emotions. These people typically carry deep-seated issues, and they don't feel safe in their body or in their environment. And they typically have either a root chakra blockage or a solar plexus blockage, meaning that their hormones can be out of balance, which kind of contributes to the outburst of emotions or lack of control. And yeah, sometimes they can have love deficiencies or an inferior or superior complex.
Interesting. That's really interesting. Now, I mean, it's not easy in stressful situations, but what is your advice for, managing emotions in stress?
Yeah, so that definitely is a tough one, but we all can definitely do it as long as we maintain our objectivity. But the main two key components to managing your emotions would be like mindfulness and self-control. The mindfulness is basically just going to help you be aware of what you're experiencing, so the uncomfortable emotions and the situation. And the self-control is just really going to be the behavior regulation to stop the stress from controlling your actions. But a good way to manage your emotions is to drop the stressful emotions to your heart space and allow the heart space to kind of transcend the dense emotions, because emotions are energy and motion. So if you allow the purity and the love in your heart to kind of transcend that density, it no longer can affect you or your emotions.
So, just out of curiosity, like what types of mindfulness do you meditation? I guess Reiki is something that you're interested in, but I guess that kind of goes into what my next question is. But like, what are these ways of practicing emotional regulation?
Yeah, definitely. So, one of the best ways to practice emotional regulation is via breath work. So basically what that does on a physiological level is that it will tame your blood pressure. On an emotional level, it's literally going to transmute and lessen the stressful emotions. So breath work is a huge one. I also practice Reiki, so that completely attunes the emotions on a chakra level. It completely recalibrates the emotions on chakras, releasing density. And another way to regulate your emotions is to first identify where are the emotional triggers coming from. So that's key, just being aware of it. Is it coming from a wound? Is it coming from a story you tell yourself? Is it coming from an insecurity? And then the other one would be to feel the emotions through your bodies. How are the emotions affecting your body? And like, is it a symptom? Is it a headache? Is it getting itchy? Is it anxiety? Is it coming in the form of like your stomach moving, right? And then also the other way to regulate your emotions is just to dissect the story you tell yourself. You have to be aware of what stories come up in your mind once these emotions come in. And then the last one will be just to choose a proactive response and avoid self-sabotage or soothing or numbing, which typically that's what some people do. They feel tough, uncomfortable emotions, and next thing you know, they're eating a whole bag of popcorn and binging all night instead of or doing their goals. So it's all about that as well. Yeah.
Now, just to get back to something you said there that I was curious about, like, so these emotions often like manifest physically.
Yeah.
Like, and I guess that's something like Reiki. Like, I'm not too familiar with Reiki myself, so I'm a little curious about it. So that's something like, does that, depending on how you're feeling, can that indicate what negative emotion you're feeling? Like if it's a stomach ache versus like, trouble breathing or something else.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, emotions are energy in motion. So prior to getting a physical symptom or even feeling an emotion, first there's an energetic beginning to that. So the energy conforms into the emotion and then it conforms into a physical symptom. But yeah, like, so let's say there's like, there's a tough emotion. Let's say it's in the stomach area. That means your sacral chakra is affected, and that may be stemming from lack of emotional control or suppressed trauma. And then it can come in the form of you getting diarrhea or like a stomach ache, develop pox or bowel syndromes. So if you don't take care of those emotions, they can develop into disease. Yeah.
And is that's something that Reiki can help with?
Yeah, so the Reiki can completely transmute that, and sometimes it requires multiple lessons. But I also always suggest to follow like a certain protocol on top of the Reiki, which I do.
Interesting. So you provide that. Cool. That is very, very.
Sometimes it requires multiple lessons, but I also always suggest to follow like a certain protocol on top of the Reiki, which I do.
Interesting. So you provide that. Cool. That is very, very neat. Now, one thing I read is like, we talk about emotional control, but also that it is healthy to express your emotions. So what should people do that want to express their emotions in healthy ways?
Yeah. Okay. So one of my favorite ways to express my emotions to myself, right, to practice is journaling. So journaling is really fun because you're basically communicating with yourself in an unfiltered way, but also in a filtered way. And you're also just writing to yourself to understand your emotions clearly. And I think that journaling is a really good way to express your emotions. But when it comes to expressing your emotions to someone else, let's say, you want to first practice empathy. Okay. You always want to speak in an empathetic way. Put yourself in the other person's shoes and speak to them the way that you would be speaking to yourself or to your best friend, and infuse your expression with mindfulness, authenticity, of course, but also you want to utilize a proper form of communication with a gentle tone, eye contact, and simple phrases. You never want to express yourself in the form of scolding someone, like you do this, you hurt me. It can be more like I feel hurt because, etc. And therefore the expression of emotions will be handled properly, even in the form of someone that you have always had trouble communicating with.
Interesting. Now, for people we all would try to practice these things and try to practice emotional control, but it's not always easy for people. So if someone does something in emotion and they're not proud of it, whether it's yelling at somebody or saying something they shouldn't have said, or, doing something embarrassing one way or another, what's your advice for what people should do next after losing control?
Yeah, that's definitely a tough one. But there's definitely a few things you can do. First, you want to definitely not wallow in that shame. You don't want to wallow or overthink in that shame that you feel after losing control, because typically that's how we feel, is shame, is regret, or, another thing would be to not identify yourself based off your actions. So some people will lose control. They begin to identify themselves based off the judgment that other people are giving them, and they begin to create an identity that is stemming from that judgment. So they think, maybe I am a woman beater. Maybe I am an abusive person. And then next thing you know, they come across another explosive episode and they perform the same behavior. So not identifying yourself with that previous action is key into progressing. And another thing, if you do lose control, it's going to be important to just implement, to reframe your thoughts, and allow the uncomfortable emotions to flow through you, and don't hold on to them, because that can create stuckness, which can create unclogged chakras, such as like a clogged root chakra, that can create a lot of cortisol, which is a stress hormone, which will live. You want to be aggressive next time you have an episode, or next time you come across someone that may trigger you.
That's really good advice. I mean, I think people read big, thick self-help books to kind of find these answers that are very, straightforward. And a lot of it seems to come down to people's energy.
Yeah.
Which is why we see such a rise in like energy work, because, people have a lot of emotions that they need to deal with. Not always in healthy ways.
Right.
So, yeah, go on.
Chakra represents like a certain, organ, and then it also represents certain hormone. So if you have like an imbalanced chakra, most likely you have an imbalanced hormone. So yeah, it's major. It's major to identify which chakras are in balance and which ones are overloaded. So yeah.
Interesting. Now I asked you last minute if you wouldn't mind doing a tarot reading. Now obviously, like, we don't want to speculate too much on like what's going on, we don't know exactly what was going through Will Smith's head. I know some people defended what he did because he was defending his wife. Obviously, violence not a good thing. But what we want to know, we see a lot of celebrities with setbacks because they've done something they, maybe later regret. So I'm just curious to know what we see in Will Smith's future as far as career. Like, will he bounce back from this? Will we see him back at the Oscars in 10 years when his ban is lifted?
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get it started. I'm going to make it brief, and let's go ahead and see. I'm going to use my astrology dices, divination dices, and some oracles and tarot. Okay. Let's see what's going to happen with Will Smith. So yeah, I am seeing that he has developed a lot of self-awareness now. His reputation will still be on the line, but I am seeing that people will begin to see him differently, as he is going to make differences in the world. So I am seeing him potentially helping a lot of people, which is going to shift people's judgment, people's verdict of what happened that night with Chris Rock. So there will be changes, but I feel like it may take a year or so. I'm seeing his children also being a reason why he gets back into the limelight, or gets back into producing movies and things like that, being in movies. Yeah, so I am seeing it will take some time, because he may need to cleanse a lot of negativity, clear his space. He's going to be practicing potentially a lot of meditation as well, to just control himself. So let's go ahead and see more details. I feel like he feels a little bit entrapped based off this. I'm not gonna lie. Money. He feels like money's entrapped right now. But I am seeing that he is still going to be getting offers. Like, it's very clear to me. There will still be job offers. There will still be this aspect of him coming back to like the Oscars, to like, wherever he shows up, MTV movie awards, things like that. But I am seeing he will go on a hiatus, in the sense of like joining these activities. So there is an aspect of him being isolated for a while, him connecting deeper with his children, him healing his inner child as well, because there is an aspect of him neglecting his inner child for a long time. And this could be something that his kids are even trying to tell him about, like, hey, dad, you may want to practice inner child healing or shadow work. And, before he kind of would turn his back when it came to this information, but now he's realizing, hey, I need to self-discover myself again. And he's doing that. So he's actually in a good space right now. And moving forward, he will be attending, celebrity venues and things like that. But he will take some time. So I say maybe like 8 months, we should see him back on screen.
Interesting. Very interesting. And I mean, it's good advice for anyone that's, been through something like him or can relate in any way. I mean, obviously no one's gone up on stage at the Oscars and done something like that, probably of our listeners, but most of, we all lose control sometimes, or we all let our emotions get the better of us. And it's good advice that should take some time off and away from whatever's stressing you, to work on your energy, to, try and get that balance, shadow work, whatever it takes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And he's connecting deeper with himself. And as he learns about, will take some time. So I say maybe like 8 months, we should see him back on screen.
Interesting. Very interesting. And I mean, it's good advice for anyone that's, been through something like him or can relate in any way. I mean, obviously no one's gone up on stage at the Oscars and done something like that, probably of our listeners, but most of, we all lose control sometimes, or we all let our emotions get the better of us. And it's good advice that should take some time off and away from whatever's stressing you, to work on your energy, to, try and get that balance, shadow work, whatever it takes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And he's connecting deeper with himself. And as he learns about, what he did wrong, he's going to shut it off of him. Because right now he feels a little bit entrapped by his mistakes, So, and I just feel like in general, people shouldn't feel entrapped or weighed down by what they did wrong. Every day is a new day. And every day you wake up is an opportunity to prove to yourself and others that you're capable of changing. And yeah.
That's great advice. That is great advice. Thank you, Francesca. As always, it's great to have you. Now, remember, you can find Francesca on Zodiac Psychics. Just search for the name Advisor Francesca, and she can help you with any of your energy issues, chakras, Reiki, tarot reading, all that stuff, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely go ahead and find me. I will do a Reiki healing, negative blockage removal, or an awesome life-altering reading. You won't regret.
Cool. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for listening. Until next time, we're sending you light and love. Take care.
I know.